Hey, it's Jeremy and Joe. Good morning. Busy show. Yesterday, there was a stretch of 2 to 3 hours where everything happened. A million things. Free agency in the NFL stuff, Bill stuff, Sabre stuff, guys getting released. Diggs is going to get released. That happened in this little 2-hour window. This morning, I woke up to a rumor. Elliot Friedman dropping Sergei Bobrovsky's name.
Yeah.
And connecting the Sabres. Okay.
Just in that there's a connection there.
Yes,
right?
I always look for connections.
Yeah. Jarmo was the Blue Jackets GM, and Bobrovsky was in Columbus. Although it is worth noting, Jarmo's not the guy that traded for Bobrovsky. I believe that was right before he got there. So, most of his years, Bobrovsky was the goalie, but he did predate Jarmo by a little bit.
Okay.
But whatever, there's a relationship there, and he's on the market for Florida. It's not as exciting an idea to me as Parayko is. I don't even think Parayko is a perfect idea. I guess I want it more now that there's this question of whether he'll actually want to come or not.
You want it more? Not less?
No, I want it more.
Because I feel like there's some that are hoping he won't come and the Sabres may save themselves from making this move, which is...
There's a little of that.
It does not appear to be as... universal's the wrong word here. It does not appear to have the same trade approval rating that a Robert Thomas idea might have.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. 26-year-old 80-point center, 32-year-old defensive defenseman where you're wondering what's left and how good is he still really. And even a lot of the numbers guys I follow are on some different wavelengths on that. Some are he's not near the player he once was, and others are no, he's still one of the best defensive defensemen in hockey. And I did not like him at the Olympics, but it's the Olympics. It's Team Canada, right? Oh, sorry, you weren't one of the 8 best defensemen in the world at that tournament, and you stand out as not looking good. So I landed on I like the move. I think the numbers look good enough, and I think he does fit on their blue line. I don't think it's kind of like Thomas to me, though. Is he needed? Is the player of his caliber on the blue line necessary to what they need to do this week? I don't think that's true. But do I want him on their blue line? I think he could reasonably make their blue line from one of the best in hockey to they have the best defense core in the NHL. If he just plugged in, it depends on where they play him too. But I think he's still a good player, and I think he would make them better. I think he would help them win a series against the Canadiens or the Lightning in the playoffs. So I think I should want it to some degree.
There are questions about how they would shuffle. Would he be a bottom pair, or would Byram go down to become a bottom pair? Because they're going to put him with what? With Power would be the plan?
Yeah. Power's been your shutdown guy this year. You put your new defensive defenseman with Power, and Byram goes down to a 19-minute-a-night guy on your third pair. And, yeah, that's they could actually have options now, though, if they wanted to.
This kind of gets to a lot of conversation we've had about the Bills over the years, or at least the comparison that I make. Why would the Sabres want to add a defensive defenseman in their top 4? And the answer, I think, is because it's no longer the regular season where you just win and think you're pretty good. It's match play. Jarmo is thinking, how am I going to beat Tampa, right?
Yeah.
How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
What's the best way I've got to beat Tampa, to beat Carolina? And he might think, well, offensively, I'm pretty good. What I need is a shutdown pair, a true top shutdown pair, and that he might envision that as Power and Parayko. So we've got lots. I mean, there could be other deals. They could also swing inside the top 10. Maybe our new life with Jarmo Kekalainen as the GM is to see ultra aggressiveness. That was, in fact, his MO in Columbus. We kind of knew that.
Yeah.
And, he might really think that the team can go deep this year, and maybe it's Parayko, a first and the 9th overall pick just a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a hefty price. Until you see, Joe, you had the tweet about all the first-round picks that have been dealt in the last 10 years that were in the 20s, and who those players turned out to be. There might have been 40 names on the list.
Yeah.
And I think I'd heard of 2 of them.
2 of them.
No one.
Yeah, it was all the picks that have been traded at deadlines in the last 12 years, first-round picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Honestly, there was no one that stood out enough for me to even remember a name that was like
Jack
a good player.
Roslovic. And
right, maybe he was one of. Yeah, he was one of them.
There's like guys in the. This would be in theory a pick in the 20s, and picks in the 20s. It's the drop off from the top 10 to the 23rd pick is just monstrous.
Yeah,
we live in a town where we have NHL and NFL drafts, and the NFL draft, a first-round pick, 29th overall, would seem very valuable. We got to be careful not to part with that. 29th pick in the NHL draft is like what? I wouldn't worry about it at all. Maybe it's a good player that's on your team in 2029. It's just,
And by this, it's a low percentage shot that it will be.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, maybe it's a guy at the bottom of your roster. Like, Yoki Haru is on this list.
Yoki Haru.
He was a first-round pick that had been traded at the deadline. Like, the pick had been traded. Like, that's the list. It's mostly guys that will maybe make the NHL, but it's going to be the bottom of your roster.
Right. Guys that get traded every 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the former first-round pick. What about this guy? How about him?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about the pick. It would be more about you're trading a top 10 pick from last year and a guy that is your number one defensive prospect by a lot. You don't have as much of a need for him, I guess, because you're kind of locked in on 3 guys at least, right, that are young and good. And we'll see about Byram. I don't know that they're paying Byram if they have Parayko on a 4-year deal. That's the other thing. We never got to, well, what's the money on Parayko, and are the Blues holding on to any? Because it very quickly just got to, oh, no, wait a minute. Now we need to see if he's waiving his no-trade clause.
Yeah.
Because I do agree with most that the price being that expensive for him indicates that, oh, the Blues are maybe going to be retaining some money here. So maybe it isn't $6.5 million for 4 more years. Maybe it's
4.
Maybe it's 4. And that's a lot more palatable. If he's making a $4 million salary from you for 4 years, you could argue then that you could still pay Byram. That is still a lot of money tied up in 5 defensemen. But you can cross that bridge later. But if it's $6.5 million, that's not happening. You still would have 4 defensemen under contract, though, for a long time. So I'm not against the idea of trading Mertka away. Like, I'm not worried about the price so much. It is just more about how good is this guy really? Like, that is the core question for me about him coming here is he still a really good to great defenseman like he had been for his entire Blues career?
Turn the mic on.
And how embarrassing is it to the Sabres? I guess part of why I want it more now is because I do think it would be very embarrassing to them if they are in second place and they can't get this guy to waive his no-trade clause for them.
I won't get too embarrassing. I think if you want to say it's embarrassing, a lot of people will, and that's totally fine. I had the thought yesterday that just because you can't convince a guy that has signed a long-term contract to uproot his life and move to a city he's never lived in doesn't have to be embarrassing. Meanwhile, in football, the Pittsburgh Steelers every single year wait for Aaron Rodgers to decide if he's going to come for 1 season. Mm-hmm. Like they hold their franchise hostage for a guy, and yesterday he still is like, I'm not sure. I don't really know.
Right.
They haven't talked to me. Like, it's not that unusual for teams and players to not match up. And I get it. If he doesn't waive his no trade, it ends up being a sore spot for us because we were told all the time you can't have players because they have these no trades. So whatever. If he waives it, I guess great. If he doesn't, go hunting elsewhere. It does come across to me as very stupid that you would not ask the player first. But
before what? It's being reported?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Before it's being reported. Because I even said to you yesterday when Drager said the deal for Robert Thomas was maybe off the table for a little while, that the best explanation could be, what if he doesn't want to waive his no trade? And the 2 GMs are going to say, like, all right, listen, we'll just say the price didn't match. We won't put it out there that he didn't waive his no trade. I don't know what else to do with it though, because if you go to a player, if I'm the GM and I'm going to trade Colten Parayko and he needs to waive his no trade, do I go to him and say, hey, I'm thinking about Buffalo, and I'm getting no. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, all right, well, do you want to hear about it? Because no. Maybe GMs would say when you get far enough down the line and you tell this player they want to trade for you, and they've offered a very steep package a very nice price for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the player, you might then feel pressured to say yes. You might be flattered by what the price is.
Yeah.
Instead of just being, oh, I don't go that. Oh, wait a minute. Wow, that team really is going for it here, huh? This team in this big drought that's in a playoff spot has called to offer 2 reasonably good pieces.
Right.
And hold on, the GM wants to talk to you or whoever. Does Parayko spend the last 24 hours calling players he knows? Does he call Tage? Does he call Dowling? I don't know who he would have crossed paths with over the years. But maybe he does a little bit of research. Who knows? We're in Parayko watch waiting to find out if he comes. A defensive defenseman who might not be at the peak of his powers, but again, is like one of the best defensive defensemen. Is there any point to his fit being good for this team because they won't need him to do anything offensively? They're already flush with guys that jump into play and make it happen. And what they really could use is a guy that won't ever really be thought to ask to do that.
I think that would be a good environment for him. He has a bomb of a shot, so he does have that. But he's definitely not somebody that you're not putting him on the power play. Like he's not moving the puck around. He's not helping you there. So yeah, that would be good. I did wonder though. I think Bulldog made this point yesterday. If he's on a pair with power and he's playing with skilled guys, like you're going to be playing in the offensive zone a lot more here than you were in St. Louis. So you got to be able to hold up to some degree there. This team's reputation and what in part makes them so dangerous is their defensemen are always moving around and jumping up in the play. There was a play that I referenced the other night where Tuck was at the point, threw it down low, and it was 2 defensemen down low on an odd man rush with the forwards back. Like their defensemen move around a lot. And I think if you do sub out Byram for Parayko on a pair like that that's playing 22 minutes a night, you are going to lose some of that. But, again, you're exchanging it for, on this team, when you're playing and shutting down rushes and you're clogging up the neutral zone, he's going to be better for you, I think, than a Bo Byram will be in that department. So I do think it helps. I think that this was true with a lot of the defensemen that were being talked about is, well, this guy's not having a really good year. And, you know, this White Cloud in Calgary or Ristolainen in Philly. And all these guys are on bad teams. Show me a defensive defenseman on a bad team. He's probably getting run over in his own end a lot during the year. You put him on a good team, and I just think you're going to get better results than what you've seen in the previous stop. And I think this would probably be another version of that. Like, I would expect him to look better with the Sabres than he has this season in St. Louis. And again, I think there's a really strong argument that he hasn't actually been that bad in St. Louis at all. He has been very good in St. Louis this year, playing his type of role. So, by the way, Jeremy Rutherford, who covers the Blues, did tweet last night. It's not like he said no and they're trying to convince him, I guess. Like, where we're at is no decision's been made on the no-trade clause. Like, he was at the Blues game last night, and he hasn't decided. I mean, there's the Sabres part of that, like, oh, I'm wanted by somebody. And it's also, man, the team I've been with for 11 years, like, they're done with me. Like, they really just traded me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say no and then come back, and are they mad at me now if I do that because I just stopped them from making a trade that they wanted to make? And now it's, okay, well, now I guess I'm going somewhere else, and where is somewhere else? I say no, and now maybe I don't have the best relationship with my team, and now I've got to go to fill in the blank.
Right.
I have no idea where my next stop is. Maybe I just say, sure, fine, Buffalo.
Right. You can't.
They're in the playoffs.
You can't unring that bell now that you've been asked, and that's probably why you don't ask players before, because now, he's been asked. 6'6", 230 pounds.
Yeah, he was in one of those fights at the Four Nations last year in the first 9 seconds.
Who did he fight?
He fought JT Miller.
Ah, nice.
He did not fight one of the Kachucks. So, Sabres have never had a Canadian Olympian.
Now they would.
Kind of. I mean, he wasn't on the team, I guess, when the Olympics happened.
Same year, though.
Pretty close.
Within a month of the Olympics, they have a Canadian Olympian.
55's available as a number, I think.
Shout out Jochen Hash.
Yeah. And Risto.
True. Yeah, Risto too, I guess.
So that's there, too.
Did Risto wear 2 numbers? Didn't he wear something else? He wore 55 the whole time?
Like, did he wear, like, a different one as a rookie?
I don't know why.
I only remember him wearing 55.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
Zadorov wore a couple different numbers, but he wasn't here very long. Yeah, I guess I am hoping this happens. Will they fly out to convince him like they did with Robin Regeer 15 years ago when he said no to them?
It took him 2 to 3 days to say yes.
Yeah.
The deadline is tomorrow. What if Parayko just pretends his phone doesn't work until past the deadline? And like, oh, sorry, I forgot.
That would be quite a move.
I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I didn't say no.
I didn't know this happened.
I was going to say yes.
Right.
He was held out of the lineup. I wonder if there's any concern that he's being held out of the lineup and the Sabres traded for a guy with back spasms because he's missed a couple games with that.
That's why he was out yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
unless they're using that as a reason to say, like, well, I mean, you could just say you're holding him out of the lineup anyway.
True.
Toronto did that with like 5 guys last night.
Just to keep him healthy.
Right.
803-0550, our phone number. I even saw some suggestions that the deal getting done could open the door to re-engage the Robert Thomas talks, which I thought, you're telling me the 2 deals would have to be separate deals? That seems crazy. And if you've already put in Mertka and a first for Parayko, like, what do you have left for Thomas? It's Hellenius, an additional first, and a roster player.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because Jarmo must believe he has enough to do both. Because Friedman pointed to yesterday that they were chasing and they were talking with the Blues about a mega deal that would include both Parayko and Robert Thomas. Which, if that's what Parayko cost, Mertka in a first, what were you offering them for both players 2 days ago?
Is it at all possible it is still that mega deal still on the table and everything is gummed up by Parayko?
Like you're indicating what? That Thomas would still be a part of the deal?
Sure. Is it possible that while they're waiting, the 2 sides re-engage
on Thomas?
Because Parayko says, I mean, if Rob's going, I'll go. Something like that?
Right.
There's a lot of potential levers here.
I really did. I mean, maybe it doesn't get done, like the idea of both of them. Maybe one of them doesn't get done. What would the odds be that one of those 2 players is on the Sabres by Friday? Like, I still want to feel like it's a pretty good shot. It's probably not likely that both are. I just love the mentality and the mindset that Kekalainen had, which was, I am going so all in. I am going and getting 2 stud players at both positions. I'm getting a great forward, and then I'm getting a guy that's going to really help me on the blue line. To the point where, like, again, Friedman talking about that trade is saying, I think maybe what happened is it just got too big. Like, you swung too big is maybe why that first deal didn't come together, and now you say, okay, well, let's do parts of it. Let's do this part of it first, and maybe you don't end up doing the second part of it. So I don't want to give him full credit because this was an Adams thing, right? Like, you don't get full credit for trying. You got to actually execute the deal.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was trying to acquire 2 players that would have probably cost you, we already saw Mertka in a first, another first, and Hellenius and Ostlund? Like, was it going to be 5 pieces of that magnitude to make that deal? Like, I would love to know what was on the table. How far he was willing to swing to get 2 veteran players like that. Because that's a lot of assets you'd have to deal.
Yeah. 803-0550. When the Flyers traded Richards and Carter, was that deadline or summer? Do you remember that? It was a massive, massive deal.
I think summer.
It's okay. Probably a summer.
Yeah, they were separate deals, weren't they?
I think so.
Or were they? Because they both ended up in the Kings. I don't know. I'll have to look.
The reason I ask is that was a day where a franchise like really altered itself. And you like to talk about a lot how Florida traded Huberdeau for Tkachuk. Like, that's a franchise alterization where you're already good and you're deciding, like, no, this is a move important enough. The Flyers traded Carter to Columbus. It was in June.
Right,
So
he was there for a minute.
Yeah, Carter and Richards quickly,
And then he said, I don't want to be here after like 3 weeks.
And they traded him to the Kings, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, 803-0550.